all, and welcome to this episode of What Cause Inspires You. I'm your host, Nithya Kupareddy, and today I have with me Rebecca Ake. Alicia Gupta, my friend and fellow Humanity Rising ambassador, launched the What Cause Inspires You podcast as a way for students to share the service that they are doing in their communities. We encourage youth who are making a change to improve the world to speak up about their stories and become a leader in the movement. Rebecca Ake is a 15-year-old who lives in Texas. She has an amazing family that includes her incredible sister who has a physical disability. Rebecca's sister has inspired her to help other people like her in the community. Rebecca is excited to share ways to help people with disabilities in your communities. We are recording this presentation and it will be posted shortly on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Be sure to check out www.humanityrising.org and sign up for our email newsletter to keep updated with all the podcast links. Rebecca, it's so amazing to have you with us here today. We're all excited to learn more. So let's get started. What percentage of teenagers are affected by disabilities in America?
In America, 4.3% of teenagers are affected by either a mental or physical disability or both. And specifically in my state, Texas, it is 4.5%. And there are so many people in specifically our town who come here for the schools that have the great special needs education. And so I have a lot of friends who have special needs.
And I think 4.5 might not seem like the biggest percentage, but when you put it into perspective with how large our population is, and you think about that's just in the years 13 through 18, it really is a lot of people out there that are disabled. So,
especially just outside of teenage years, every 1 in 3 families is affected by special needs or disabilities of some sorts. So it doesn't matter if it's specifically just a teenager, although teenagers do consume a number of that population. But at least everyone knows somebody who has special needs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think 1 in 3 is also a statistic that I did not know. And I am shocked to hear that. So what are some things in common with people with disabilities that have with everyone else?
Well, I like everyone, and I know myself personally, we all want to have friends and be involved and interacting. This is true of everyone. We don't like to be, cut off from our friends or disengaged. And what those kids want is exactly what everyone else is looking for in their life, is love and acceptance in some form or fashion. And at the teenage years, it's going to be friends. It's going to be, clubs I'm involved in. It's going to be who am I friends with and who am I sitting with at lunch and other such things like that.
Right. I think a lot of people assume that people with disabilities have a very different life or would like to be treated differently from everyone else. But I've worked with visually impaired people before, and I know they're really super awesome and super normal, and you can just interact with them like your friends. And I think it's clear that they want the same things as everyone else, and they don't want to be treated any differently. So Oh no, go ahead, please.
They all have dreams and goals and aspirations to do similar things that we want to do, whether it be, deaf people becoming musicians or blind people becoming artists or quadriplegics, painting with their mouths. They accomplish their dreams in different ways than ours. So in some aspects, yes, life is going to be different for them, but our core wants and needs for attention and love are exactly the same.
I completely agree. And I think if anything, they're just as or even more capable than we are, because they know what it is to face a struggle that other people are constantly telling them will be difficult for them to get over. But really it's something that they're used to and it's their normal. So I think you're totally right about that. So where can I find places to create friendships with special needs people my age?
Schools are an amazing place just because they already have places for students with special needs to come and learn, and there will always be people at your school, it doesn't matter what school it is, who have special needs of some sorts, whether it could be just, mild ADHD to very severe autism, there is going to be somebody who has a disability at your school. And also, other than that, there are so many local churches, especially just in America, who have lots of special needs or disability friendly ministries in their churches, and those ministries work hard to reach out outside of their church to find families with special needs and help them find community and love and acceptance and healing if that's needed. And a lot of towns, I know Frisco sometimes does this, and certain hospitals do this, especially children's hospitals will hold community events for people with special needs. So my sister has a spinal disorder, so she's paralyzed from the waist down, no walking whatsoever. But she just attended a virtual camp, 2 weeks ago, that was all kids who were exactly like her. And she had so much fun, and she's so excited to go back again next year. And she was talking to me, and she was saying that, oh my goodness, I've never seen so many girls who are just like me. And she was so excited, and she made so many friends. And I felt so happy that she had found a community like that.
I think that's great. And I think that's another thing to remember, that they are a part of your community, and that, they are just the same as everyone else. They really want to be included and feel that they have other people similar to them. And I think that's great that your sister was able to have a camp like that. And I think, just like us, we go to these summer camps, and it's no different. And really, it's important for everyone to have a community that they feel safe in. So is having a friendship with someone with a physical disability any different than other friendships?
So, no, and if the photos are working, we can use that one photo. But especially being a sister and friend with, many people who are in wheelchairs or, walkers, crutches, canes, all of that. Oh, is it gonna work? But oh yeah, there's Titus Daly. So I volunteer at a camp where families with special needs children come, and we all come together and find community and share each other and love on each other. And that is Titus. And he has obviously a physical disability and maybe a little bit of a mental disability. And what I do to be friends with him and make sure that he feels love and that he has attention, because some of the activities during that camp he can't do, but he wants to be involved, obviously. And some things that we do is we always have someone with them. It doesn't matter if they can't do it either. There's going to be some way that they can be involved. For example, we had a shaving cream fight at this camp, and he can't be directly involved with kids running around and throwing shaving cream at each other. But what we did is we had a couple people sit down in a circle, and we just kind of played with shaving cream all together, and it was so much fun, and he very much enjoyed it. He had laughed so hard, and he has the most contagious laugh ever. Some other things you can do, especially in your community, is as you're trying to make friends with somebody who has a piece of equipment, like a wheelchair, or in this case Titus also has oxygen, is don't touch with it, don't mess with it. A wheelchair or a walker is an extension of the person's body. And so just kind of resting on it or pushing them without asking them is just kind of like me trying to, push you to walk in a certain direction. It's not very respectful. So definitely some people need you to push them around, but it's definitely respectful to ask first. And respect their space. And most of the time they're going to have medical equipment that might, make a beeping sound every once in a while, or, something like that. So when that happens, just that's the normal for them. There's no reason to get freaked out by it. And especially if they need to if there's a staircase, but there's a ramp around it, take the ramp with them. That makes them feel so much more like you care and you want to be with them. And even though it's more convenient for you to go down the stairs because the ramp might be longer, they feel so much more loved and cared for when you take the ramp with them, just because it's like a sign of, oh, you do care and you're gonna, be friends with me and we're gonna talk about something while we're going down the ramp or up the ramp. um, and with physical disabilities, they're thanks to uh, engineering and modern medicine. There's so many adaptive things now. I know, for instance, like my sister has a little bit some trouble using her arms, and so, but she loves baking. She wants to be a baker when she grows up. So what she does is she had some engineers from a high school class make her some adaptive equipment, and it works amazing for her. And so now when her friends come over, she wants to bake cookies, and they love doing that with her. That they use the adaptive equipment instead of normal equipment. And just if you do have questions about their disability, it's polite to ask them, but don't just be like, "What's wrong with you?" Because that is so extremely rude. But if you do have questions, most of them are fine with you being curious. I know Lizzie loves being asked questions. That's my sister. Loves being asked questions, and she loves helping people understand that, what's going on with her. But definitely be polite at it. Don't, when you first meet them, don't it's stare, smile, because it is going to be, if especially if you haven't been around that kind of stuff, it's very different and it can be kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? But you want to smile and show like you are willing to create connection and friendship with them. And you're right, it's different than, your day-to-day life, but it's their day-to-day life and that's their normal. So we need to respect that and not be rude and staring. It's like, when you have a stain on your shirt and you can feel other people staring, it doesn't feel great. But when you see, somebody giving you a friendly smile, that just lifts you up. And we want to be uplifting to those people, especially more than others.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I think what you said about the wheelchair being an extension of their body, I've never about it that way. And I think that's a really great way to put it. So you know what their personal space is and you make sure that you're not invading. And I also totally agree. I think it's important to make sure that you're not staring at them and that you're being very mindful, because when you make someone feel different from you or you make them feel like they're out of place, I think that's, everyone has felt that before and it's incredibly off-putting. And I think it's very important to make sure that you're making everyone feel comfortable around you. And I think you really have to keep that in mind when you're around people with disabilities as well, especially physical ones, because you can really see that they are, they're just living their lives and you don't want to make them feel like they're different. So, is having a friendship with someone with intellectual disorders different than other friendships?
Yes, and if that photo is gonna work.
Yeah.
Uh, so there we go, perfect. This is Lane. He is also from the same camp. He is another friend, and he has not super severe, but definitely autism. And the whole week he was talking to me about belly buttons, and he thought it was so amazing that I would continue this conversation with him about belly buttons. And with autism, they tend to repeat the same thing. So it would be like, do you like coffee? And then 5 minutes later, do you like coffee? um, but it's just that doing that over and over again with him all week. He had so much fun, and by the end of it, he and I had a little spiel about belly buttons, and he laughed every time at the end of it. He thought it was so funny. So with that, people with intellectual disorders, they sometimes get overwhelmed, in with certain movies, concerts, um, loud music, other things, could be very much anything. So you need to be mindful and respectful of that, because they might not want to go to a loud concert, because with autism, it's like all your senses are dialed to 20 instead of 10, and it's just all this crazy information at all this time. And so putting that kind of person in a loud concert is not the best idea, and it can cause, meltdowns, and you don't want to do that as a friend, put your friend in a meltdown position or over sensorized. And so what you need to do is be respectful of them. If they know that you want to listen to music, they will probably want to listen to classical music with you, or something that their brains can still process and handle without being overwhelmed. They especially like it when you treat them with normalcy. Sometimes their cognitive disorder is not being able to talk, but they can understand everything that's going on around them, and they have no issues being in a loud concert or whatever, but they tend to get pushed off to the side because they don't talk. So what I did was, with a friend of Lane's, is we were playing Monopoly, and we have this one girl, and she can't talk, but she can make sounds. But she ended up winning Monopoly, and she was so good at it, and it was incredible. I was astounded by it. But we were friendly with her. We made conversation with her. We kept talking to her. She was incredible, and she's so fabulous to be around. But yes, so don't know, not overwhelming them, being respectful of them. Some of them don't want to be touched. Some of them don't want to be, some people with autism can't look you in the eye. So that's not a sign of disrespect. That's just what they're doing to keep themselves in a centered kind of state, not overwhelmed. And they are being friends with you. They're loving. They love being friends with, everyone, and they're most of the time extremely friendly, and they want, those core things: attention and love and connection. And but the way they receive it, or they need to receive it, looks a little bit different than, what for us. So like, if I met you, I'd probably give you, if this wasn't COVID, I'd probably give you like a side hug or something. But a lot of people with autism can't do that. So it's a high five or a fist bump or something that they can mentally handle at that point.
Yeah, I think here's the second picture that you wanted. And also, I think what you were saying about them repeating themselves or wanting different things, I think you just have to be super patient and you have to be open, because they're gonna do different things or want different things than what you would normally see probably. And I think you have to be open to making sure that they are comfortable and making sure that you are listening to them and addressing them nicely and politely.
Mhm. This is Gracie. She was my kind of assigned friend at this camp. And she has Down syndrome, which really isn't like a cognitive disorder, but because of Down syndrome, it does cause some cognitive delays. And so Gracie did not speak very much. And when we were going through our breakfast line together, she would not tell, the lady behind who was serving us what she wanted. And so what we ended up coming up with, and it's coming up with all these little different things that really like cements a friendship. So I think at one point we had pancakes and eggs for breakfast, and they were so like, they were the main course, so you had to choose one or the other, but she couldn't say, oh, I want eggs. So what I had to do was, I said, do you want pancakes or eggs? And she saw that I had closed different fists for different things, because she understood what was going on, but she just couldn't verbalize. And so she pointed at my hand that was pointing to eggs, and she had eggs for breakfast. And she was so happy that she got eggs for breakfast and not pancakes.
I think
But
it's awesome that you were, able to understand that and like help her communicate it. I think that's another great thing, being creative and being able to work with them.
yes, they are so fun and so amazing. They have the best smiles, and they are just so joyful to be around, because when you love on them, they're going to give you that love back in some form or fashion that they know. So for Gracie, it was giving me a side hug at the end of the day. For Lane, it was laughing really hard at, every time we talked about belly buttons and other things like that.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you were able to make these friendships and, make them feel so comfortable with you. And you were able to get so much out of the friendship too.
Hmm.
So, what are some ways that I can start building friendships with people with intellectual disorders?
Again, being kind and patient and introducing yourself to them, talking about things that they like because they won't necessarily talk about things that you like that they do not like. They'll probably switch the conversation around to something that they enjoy. And honestly, there's so many things that you can, if some one of the kids said, I enjoy music, and we talked about Prince for like an hour, and it was super fun. And just being patient and kind, because some of them could be very shy at first, or some of them could have been treated so badly because of being bullied or being in foster homes or just having not great families, that it takes a little bit a moment for them to realize, oh, this is, I'm being loved, this is a good, this person is wanting to love on me and help me and be friends, versus this person is trying to harm me or wants bad intentions for me, or is bullying me.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, if there are no friendship opportunities at school, what can I do in my everyday life to make people with special needs feel included?
Well, in what stores like Walmart, Target, certain hotels, they are now hiring people with, coffee shops even are hiring people with autism and Down syndrome and certain physical disabilities. And um, just being like treating them like, oh, what are you, instead of being like, oh, what are you doing here, be like, hey man, how's it going, or something like that. Treating them like this is their job. They know that it is their job and they take it very seriously, and they're there to work because this is such an amazing opportunity for them to work. But a lot of time they get mistreated at work because customers see that they're with autism, and then they just treat them differently because, oh my goodness, my person who's taking my coffee order keeps repeating the same word over and over again, what's going on? But it's just being respectful that they are taking your coffee order and they know exactly what you want. They're going to go over there and make it, and they're going to bring it back to you, but know that they are going to repeat the words, those same words that they're saying the whole time, and that's okay, but they're doing their job, and just being respectful of that. um, Discourage other people from treating people with special needs differently. So, like, if the person lying in front of you is just being like, "Oh my goodness, I really don't want this person with Down syndrome, checking out my groceries. They're gonna mess it up." Be like, "Hey, that's not nice. That's not okay. They want to be there. They want to do their job, and they are going to do it correctly. And if they do mess up, then it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes." So being very respectful and sometimes a simple wave hi makes their day. And if you want to, you don't have to. Every time you see somebody who has, a disability working for a, establishment, thank the manager, because it is a big decision to decide to start hiring people with disabilities, because there are risks and there are pros and cons, and it can be a scary thing to start hiring people with disabilities, because some of them will do their job and some of them won't do their job. It really depends on the person. But thanking them for making such a kind and bold decision to help people who are mostly neglected in our community find a community in their work with their coworkers, or it gives them a task to do, so once they graduate high school they have something to do, they're not just stuck at home all day. And yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like what you were saying about when people with disabilities are working, I think a lot of people have the tendency to do one of two things. You either feel incredibly awkward or you feel like you're dominant over people with disabilities, both of which are not okay. If you feel awkward or either of those things, I think it's just important to understand that you need to treat them like every other person. And, you acting awkward around them can change their perception or their behavior and make them uncomfortable too. I've seen this firsthand too. So I think it's really important to just make sure that you're treating them like a person and like everyone else that you do and act with respect and politeness and kindness, like you were saying. So now we're going to open it up to the audience. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for everything so far. And I'm sure
Yes.
great questions coming up. All right, so our first question is, how have these friendships affected your personal life or your view on life?
So, oh my goodness, there's so many friends. Hold on, I'm trying to think of one that really has stuck out. Alrighty, I have a friend with a intellectual disorder, and she is so kind and so sweet. And I remember, um, our family just went through a really hard time. Like my sister's in the hospital, which is kind of going to be a normal occurrence for people with physical disabilities. They're in the hospital a lot. That's just part of their life. But I was feeling really sad because of that. And there was this girl at our church who had always had an intellectual disorder. And I had been friends with her and stuff like that and very kind to her. But I hadn't seen her in a while. And she came up to me and she asked me how my day was going. And we had a whole conversation about, I think it was birthday cake, and it was just, oh nope, it wasn't cake, or we just had a conversation about something that had to do with baking is all what I remember. And it just took my mind off of all the stress that I had felt in my life. And she was so grateful for all the kindness that I'd given her over the years, and she saw that I was nervous and stressed and decided to give that kindness back. And that was just an amazing feeling of, oh my goodness, I can, be calm around this person, and this person loves and treats me with respect because I treat them with respect. And especially with my sister, I see how other people treat her differently. Like when we go to the mall and she wants to go shopping for clothes, which is a typical teenagery thing, because she's a teenager, and people are like, I don't think you can wear that because you're in a wheelchair. And that just makes me so angry and makes me want to do more with what I can, more of this, of being friends with people who are special needs, making them feel loved and connected, because that is not how, anyone should be treated, especially not my sister. But especially not anyone with a disability should be treated like that at all. So I think us, for so many, have friendships and just connections of, hi, how's it going, good, stuff like that, just simple 2-minute conversations. um they just, they love the smiles on their faces when you give them positive attention and love and support in what they're doing. If we go back to that picture of Lane, he does woodcrafting, and he has a little shop in his garage, I think, and he carves these, I think, or he does woodcrafting, and he's amazing at it. He's brilliant at it. And when you get to talk to him about it, it's really incredible. And being friends with him, I've learned a little bit about woodworking and how to, you know, how to woodwork. And being friends with him, you just learn something from everybody. There's always something to learn from everybody, including people with disabilities, especially with people with disabilities. And they are so poorly treated that, and I just see them being so poorly treated that, and the positive relationships in my life had made me want to make sure that they are more positively treated.
Yeah, definitely. And along those lines is our next question. So the question is, what are some ways that you can include disabled people in your community or be included in their communities?
There are so many ways. Oh my goodness. Starting from just saying hello and hi and making them feel included and loved, to becoming best friends with this person. It really depends on what kind of disability it is, because a spinal disorder where it does not affect their cognitivity level at all is so much different than having very severe autism. and they need to do different things. They're able to do different things. And through definitely schools, I know I'm involved in Best Buddies in our school. And through our church, we have a special needs ministry at the church I go to, and I volunteer through there. And there's so many churches in America nowadays that there's going to be one with a special needs ministry somewhere near you. And even in just your community, in your towns, you can say like, "Hey, can we have a carnival for people who with families who have people with autism in them?" And you create, activities for people with autism that they would enjoy and would not be, overstimulated by. But there's so many different things that you can do, from just, being a friend and a buddy to someone, to trying to work in your community to start events or other programs to create connectivity.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's another thing. There's always going to be programs in your community. It's about you, taking that step and looking for it. I know I'm from the Bay Area. I can think of probably four organizations just off the top of my head that are made to be a community for disabled people. So I think it's really just about you going out there and deciding that you want to be a part of this and you want to be a part of the community and really helping the people around you. And I think from there, you can definitely find organizations and places that you can contribute and you can learn from. So I think those are all our questions. Thank you so much for sharing about your experiences and the ways that you're helping the people around you, Rebecca. If you have any general questions about the What Cause Inspires You podcast series, are interested in applying as a student or expert speaker, or want to volunteer, email aliciagupta2020@gmail.com or info@humanityrising.org. Be sure to follow our Instagram and Facebook pages to stay updated on our scholarship opportunities, future podcasts and events at humanity.rising and at What Cause Inspires You. Also, be sure to join the movement on our website, www.humanityrising.org, if you haven't already, and find all of our events on the website and interview. Thank you again, Rebecca, and thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you again for next week's podcast.